In this video, I'm going to show how to graph compound inequalities. A compound inequality is any inequality that has two symbols in it. For example, this one. So you can see there are two inequality symbols in here, okay? Or it can be this one. As long as there are two inequality symbols that you see, you call it a compound inequality. Let's take a look at examples on how to graph these inequalities. All right, so our first example is we show the graph for this inequality, which is connected with the OR. All right, you call this as a compound inequality with the OR. So x is less than or equal to -1 or x is greater than 3. So to graph, all we have to do is to graph each of these simple inequalities in one number line, right? So we begin from here. Now remember, you will use open circle when you use these symbols, and then you will use a closed circle with these symbols, okay? Because the symbol here is less than or equal to, there's a line under, so we go to that number, -1, and then that means a closed circle, right? And its pointed part is towards left, so we make a ray to the left, right? So that's the graph for this part. And then we go to the next part, x is greater than 3. With this symbol greater than, it means open circle. Okay, we go to 3 with an open circle, and then the pointed part is towards the right, it points to the right, so we make a ray to the right. So don't forget, you'll have two graphs in one number line. So that's the graph. All right, our next example is this. So as you can see, if you look at the inequality, it's in a different format, it's written differently, but we just need to take note that there are three sides here. So this is your left side, this is your middle part, and this is your right side. And there are two inequalities shown here, okay? So if you see an inequality that looks like this is how you graph it. So first is we go to the number on the left, -2, all right, -2, and you know that symbol less than, it means an open circle. So we put an open circle at -2. And then we go to the next number, which is 4, and that symbol is less than or equal to, which means a closed circle. So we make a closed circle, okay? And then we just connect the two. And that's the graph if your inequality looks like this. The graph, actually, this graph, you call it a segment. So that's why I'm calling this format as a segment format, all right? All right, our next example is the reverse. This time, I'm going to give you the graph. You have here the graph, and you're going to make the inequality. All right, so as you can see in here, we have two separate graphs. They're separate, okay? So if you have two separate graphs, this is how you make the inequality. So you begin with one of the graphs here, all right? So it's open circle to the left, all right? So well, you begin with the variable. You start with a variable x, and then you decide what symbol. Open circle to the left means this symbol, all right, less than, and then the number there is 0, so I'll put a 0. That's for the left part of the graph. Now we go to the right part of the graph, so we begin again with another variable, okay, and this time it's an open circle to the right side. Open circle to the right side means this symbol, okay, greater than. And then the number is a +2. All right. So, and then at the end, don't forget, you need to connect the 2 with the OR. Okay. So this is your final answer. X is less than 0 or X is greater than 2. So whenever you have two separate graphs, this is how you answer. Without the OR, your answer will be wrong. So don't forget that OR, that's the connector. All right, our last example is this graph. So if you remember, this is a segment. The graph looks like a segment. When you say segment, it has endpoints. So on the left, you have -1, and then on the other endpoint to the right, that's a +3. Okay, so if your inequality, your graph looks like this is how you make the inequality. So you begin with a variable in the middle part, okay, and then you go to the left of it, go to the left number, -1, okay, and then now if you have a segment, the only symbols that you can use is either this for a closed circle or this for a solid circle. Only these two. You can only pick these symbols if you have this kind of graph, okay? Now again, this is a closed circle, -1, so that means I'm going to use this symbol, less than or equal to. Okay, then on the other, on the right side, my number there is 3 because I have open circle. I can only pick with it from these two options, less than. Okay, so that's my answer. Variable in the middle part, and then the two numbers on each, the left and the right, and then the symbols in between. Okay, so yeah, that's your inequality. Again, if you have this kind of graph, the only symbols that you can use is either this or a less than.